What's up, everybody? George Siosi Samuels here, aka the Digital Wayfinder, and today I'm going to take you through a new micro tool that I've created for the Conscious Stack ecosystem called StackMapper. StackMapper builds upon stack maps, or the idea of a stack map, which first came out while working with clients. And a stack map essentially looks at what your goal is, identifying your general workflow process, and then also connecting in the tools that are associated with each part of that process. And why go through a stack mapping process at all? Um, the reason for this is because in the many years working with a lot of different business types, from startups all the way up to large enterprise, is that I've noticed that the tools that we use are often a mirror or reflection of inner states, both individually, for teams, and even for companies. And what happens is because tech moves so quickly, we often don't even know which tools are entering and leaving our awareness or digital ecosystems from a day to day basis. As a result, what it does is it kind of comes in, sweeps, and removes a lot of attention without you realizing. And so, this process of stack mapping actually helps you to take a step back and leverage your humanness to become more consciously aware of the tools that are impacting you right now, and then make conscious decisions about what you want to do with them before continuing on the general grind that exists in a lot of the business world. Um, and so conscious stack design is focusing first on the tools tech part, but really the principles could be applied to many other different areas of your business or life. So let's go back to the StackMapper tool. Now here is essentially a tool that I created after doing this manually, right, for people using Figma Jamboards. And so what I want to do is I want to put here, I'm going to describe a goal. It's like, okay, create an AI MVP, all right? And by putting this in here, we then start to think about what are the different components that are required for this, right? So we might start off with LLM as a category, right? Because since we're looking to build an AI driven MVP app, we might need to look at, okay, well, what are the LLMs that I'm going to be using? Um, Primarily, use ChatGPT, right? Then we might have Claude. We might then use, what's another? Gemini 2.5 Pro, I'll be specific with the models, um, so on and so forth. Okay. Now, according to uh, conscious stack design, there is essentially a rule that we have called the 631 rule. And this rule essentially states that for any category or stack that you're looking at, it's good to have at most 6 tools in that stack, right? So this is where we go 631. We've got 3 being a support, and then 1 being an anchor. So that 1, as you see here under LLM, this particular stack, ChatGPT is the anchor. And then the 3, all right, and let's say, let me add some more. These are 3 supporting. So what this means is that consciously for this stack, I will try and keep ChatGPT fixed as my main LLM, okay, before bringing in others. Now, I might have as support these other LLMs, and then the 2 over here, let's just put maybe chat 3, and then, all right. So I'm going to put 5 here, right? So the reason why these 2 are in orange is because they're experimental, okay? And these ones are essentially, it's like if we're starting to get overloaded, it looks orange because we're hitting that 6 um, sort of total number. And this ties into Miller's Law, which states that for most human beings, we can't actually keep more than 7 things at a time, plus or minus 2, um, in our brains when we're thinking about things. And so we're using the same law to apply to our stacks, right, in the different categories. And so if you find yourself with tools right here that you're using a lot, this would be a signal for you to actually stop, evaluate, and be like, well, why do I have so many? Am I actually using all of them? How much is this costing me? Um, you know, Seemingly on the surface, very basic, right? But this is something that just does not actually get done on a day-to-day basis. And I think as AI proliferates, it's making this even more important to do every now and then, right? So we've got these 6 here, and I can then start to look at this and be, okay, right, let me map that. So as part of the AI MVP, I might then want to have put in vibe coding tools, okay? Now, right now, I'm using anything AI. Previously, this was create.xyz. So I just say anything. We've got lovable. We've got v0. We've got bolt. And then some ones that I was experimenting with included rocket.new. And I think that's it for now. Okay. So these are my vibe coding tools. Right. Next up, IDEs. Now, my absolute number one fave is Windsurf, but of course there is Cursor. There is Zed, which I also like. There's VS Code, but I don't really use it that much, but I'll put it in anyways. And these are my main IDEs. Okay. Agents. Okay. Now I might put in here Kleinbot and then supermemory. Okay. So as I'm building this, you can start to see, right, all of these green blocks are actually filling up my actual stack. So just, even though I have all these categories, these ideally are the number one anchor tools, right, for each of those stack categories that get put in under my actual stack, right? So a lot of times when people are just sharing all the tools that they use, right, their favorites, it's not necessarily the ones that they actually use. And so this is where you can start to see what you actually use, and this would be your actual stack. Because ideally, these anchored tools in the green are the ones that you want to stick with you for at least 30 days, right? If you do not allow it to stick, you will not be able to see how other tools, as they enter your digital awareness, right, your digital ecosystem, how they're impacting. And so this is all part of the conscious stack philosophy, conscious tech, right? Is that I know there are a lot of people who are showing you how to use all these tools, but I'm actually starting to focus more and more on helping people focus on their choices of these tools, because I think that's going to matter a lot more than just the tools themselves, because it's a step that's getting missed as AI is accelerating the creation of new tools and technologies, because AI is probably going to orchestrate and use many of these tools without you needing to actually master each individual tool. So what becomes more important is that you can actually have a conscious awareness of the tools that they're using by understanding what your own conscious stack looks like. Okay, and we are starting first with our digital tools, and we'll move into other areas later on. Okay, so we've got 4 categories, right? And you can see here under actual stack, we're applying the same sort of 6-3-1 rule to this. And if I add 2 more categories, that'll be sort of the max, right, that we want. If we go beyond that, there's nothing stopping you from doing that, but it's going to show that you've got an overloaded and potentially fragmented system or stack setup already. Okay. Now, in the StackMapper tool, this is free for now. You can have auto snapshots, so it's automatically saving this, but I do recommend that you export your stack map when you're done, just to be safe. All of this is being locally stored in your browser, so if you do happen to refresh your cache or clear your browser history, you'll lose all this, right? So this is how we're able to keep it for free at the moment. So do export the stack map so that you can import it again, right? Just in case later on. But you will get auto snapshots down here below. All right. So this is the StackMapper tool. If you do have any questions, let me know. Ask in the comments to this video. And you'll notice here on the right, you can learn more about stack mapping etc., just by clicking the help button. Okay, so feel free to use this tool. You can find it at mapper.consciousstack.com. Again, if you have any questions, let me know. Enjoy.